here to talk about the mobile internet and the benefits it can have for your business. Would you please welcome Mike Short?
Good morning, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here, and thank you for the introduction. I don't often criticize prime ministers, but after hearing the last presentation, I'd like to take a little pop at Disraeli, who did once say there are lies, damn lies, and statistics. I think we've proven through the presentation today that actually you can do an awful lot with data and statistics. I was one of 316,000 people who were born on the 19th of July many years ago, and I don't quite see the affinity I have with Helen Skelton, Dominic Cumberbatch, Brian May from Queen, or Ilia Nastase, the tennis player, but I'm sure there may be some common ground. From a Telefonica point of view, I'm not going to repeat what some of my mobile competitors said earlier on. I thought I'd abbreviate the slides briefly, given we need to catch up on some time. We believe that mobile internet is for everyone and everything. That's male and female, but also people and things, people and objects. And I'd like to just give a flavor of that in a brief presentation. If I go back to when the first mobile phone call was demonstrated on a public network, it was actually 40 years ago in America in April 1973. Some of you may remember your first mobile phones. There's a little gallery up there. I couldn't put them all on the slide. In fact, there's something like 1.9 billion devices being shipped every year globally, and there are close to 6.8 billion customers using mobile by the end of last year. I had the privilege last April of being quoted in the Financial Times because I believe actually that mobile is very different today. If we think about mobile and the internet, that combination of broadband and connectivity is empowering everybody to innovate. And we see actually the richness of these devices extending far beyond the voice and texting devices that I grew up with and many of you have grown up with. Certainly the weight of the phones are no longer the weight of a bag of sugar, as shown by the early phones on the left-hand side, and certainly the capability of smartphones is extending innovation in ways we never ever imagined. When we look at the internet as well, the power of the internet is incredible in terms of the activity. This is a snapshot of what happens on the internet in 60 seconds. And one only needs to look at the number of emails, 168 million emails sent every 60 seconds, or the number of applications downloaded on iPhone, over 13,000 every 60 seconds, or perhaps the number of voice calls that are carried in voice over IP terms, 372,000 minutes based on voice over internet. That's huge. Now actually harnessing this data, this is a real big data opportunity, which is not particular to one country, it's not particular to one environment or region, it's actually a worldwide phenomenon. And the likes of actually seeing a day when everybody and everything can connect to the internet is within sight. Now, I'm not an advocate of connecting fridges, but I am an advocate of connecting cars and smart meters, because actually we can see ways in which those businesses can transform for businesses, for government, and indeed the consumers that use them. So in terms of the presentation, what I thought I'd do is just touch on it from a connectivity and devices or digital perspective. So Telefonica has briefly been introduced, but we have 224 million customers in the UK and around 313 million customers worldwide in 24 countries. What's not often mentioned is that we also have 13 accelerators around the world in 12 countries, which have helped to create 325 new companies, launched 325 new companies in the last 2 years. We're incubating in the UK some 60 new companies a year, so the innovation activity is quite significant. And in telecoms terms, we're the second largest R&D investor globally, only after NTT Japan. Many retail stores, many free Wi-Fi hotspots available, not just O2 customers, but all UK registered customers and indeed visitors. And we exceeded 10 million registered users in January this year. And lastly, the UK network that we offer under the name of O2 has the highest customer satisfaction for any mobile provider over the last 3 years based on Ofcom data. On that, I'd like to just give you an idea through a video, if we could run it, just on the scale and shape and size of the network and the investment we're putting in. If you could run the video, please. Now, I thought I'd share those numbers quite simply because the size is enormous, £1.5 million per day. But that's in addition to any network sharing activity we have with a mobile operator who we compete with as well. So we have a shared network that adds to that investment. We also are increasingly covering a much wider range of services, and 125 terabytes per day is enormous. So let's just take a snapshot of what it means here in Wales. I mean, what we see is, frankly, Wales is becoming an upwardly mobile nation. If we take some of the Ofcom statistics, we see a rise from the previous year to 54% of the total adult population using smartphones, as evidenced by the Room poll earlier on. And a quarter of homes in Wales are shunning traditional landline in favour of wireless, and therefore we need to make sure the coverage is there. So the points made about planning permission earlier on are just as valid to us as they are to any other mobile operator. We're also seeing a huge increase in the mobile internet usage, so therefore, as an enabler, the infrastructure is vital. We certainly see the rural areas as being ones needing coverage as well. So clearly areas like making sure that the ownership, the smartphone ownership can be supported well is key. We see opening up access and promoting social inclusion as being a vital aspect to this. Certainly we don't want to cause a new digital divide with the arrival of 4G. We're also extending the capacity and coverage with 2G and 3G as indicated by the video. So what's it got to do in terms of the impact on all of us within Digital 2014? Well, clearly what we see is the workforce mobility is key as well as the information mobility. We also see that the social enterprise is needing different forms of communities that are embracing mobile internet, not just social media, but different social enterprises being created. We also see a lot more remodeling of the customer experience in terms of how customers interact with their supply chain as well as their other colleagues and customers. So when we think about it, this means that we can think about improved capacity and coverage to reach out to that area of demand. Certainly we invest where the demand is there. But we're seeing a growing demand in the Internet of Things, whether it be for smart cities, not just connected cars, but also connected street infrastructure, street lighting. We're seeing a real revolution emerging. So let's just take a few frameworks. When we talk to city mayors, they often talk about the goals of a city or a town. They talk about the challenges to how to implement that in terms of openness and scalability. It has to be cost effective, it has to be secure, but there has to be a city vision. And practical terms, it's often broken down into the machine-to-machine area, or the mobile internet area, or the big data and the cloud area. This has to be integrated together, and we're already doing that. We have a smart city demonstrator in Santander in northern Spain with over 20,000 sensors that are connected in the city of Santander already. And we're also moving towards a more open architecture to try and embrace other players in different cities. So if we think about parking, wouldn't it be nice if a car park space told us when it was available? You're often traveling to an unknown city. Wouldn't it be nice if it told you when it was vacant? And furthermore, it could actually take your charge instead of it having to go into a machine. Wouldn't it be nice if we knew where the electric charging infrastructure was for the modern electric vehicles? How is this going to be paid for? I don't think we all need to carry big AA batteries as shown by the graphic. How do we find containers that perhaps might be containing food that might be due to go off? How do we make sure the navigation and the identity of these containers are properly handled? So we already support a lot of fleet management, a lot of container identification to support this activity. And if we take our whole range, we can actually see the Internet of Things touching more and more spaces, whether it be in utilities for smart metering, whether it be in smart cities, or some of those other sectors I don't have time to cover today. All the slides are available to the organisers afterwards if you want to read some of those examples at your leisure. So why do we build a better network? It's actually about investing for our customers in these new services, whether it's for better businesses, better government, for the economy. It's also about reaching out into areas like smart cities, hence the example of Santander or Valencia. It's also about supporting modern police and emergency services. One of the key aspects that we see is the move towards prevention rather than care. So how do we prevent health diseases with connectivity and data? How do we help with prevention of crime? How do we improve the environment? So this is all about building the better network, hence the video, and the £1.5 million a day is the headline. But at the end of the day, we have a partnership in the UK between ourselves and Vodafone that is publicly known. That's spreading out the rollout and the investment more fully across the UK. There's a fast rollout to the extent that in 8 months we've already achieved over 1/3 of indoor population coverage, and that's around 20 million across 191 towns. The target is to reach 98% national indoor by the end of 2017, but we expect to reach it by the end of 2016, as stated by the speaker earlier. And our strategic goal is to make sure mobile broadband 3G and 4G across the UK cover urban and rural areas. For Wales, certainly we want to grow the number of sites, and by combining our sites with our competitors, we actually are increasing the number by something over 50% of served sites beyond what exists today. So 4G is nearly here, Cardiff, Newport and Swansea expected by the end of this year. So faster, smarter, stronger. It's not just mobile, it's also Wi-Fi. It's also looking at different internet-based services. It's making sure 2G is there as a wide area backdrop as well for roaming. So how do we measure it when it comes to difficult journeys, difficult locations such as the one shown here? What we see is the key need for network coverage maps, apps and tools to make sure we're the eyes and ears of the customer and we can prevent difficulties before they arise. Certainly don't just take our word for it. Look at some of the studies from the Ofcom studies where we've been very strong for the last 3 years, some of the independent studies that have gone with those awards. And if we look at the global picture, something like 11.3 billion connected devices, if we take mobile and fixed and other devices globally, is the expected position relative to 6.9 billion mobile connected devices. So mobile really leads the way. And when we see other sectors, other verticals, if you like, having a benefit from this, we can see huge developments in health, smart cities, other areas of automotive and consumer electronics. Again, take the slides at your leisure from the organisers. But if we don't get this right, Europe and indeed Wales will fall behind in the digital race. It's very important that we get the right blend of connectivity and services to make sure that we are well advanced as Digital Wales and well advanced for Digital 2015. Thank you very much.